In married life, the desire to have a child is not only the desire of the couple, but also the invisible pressure from family and society. And when those expectations become an obsession, it can turn love into tragedy, and happiness is gradually replaced by suspicion and conflict. But do you know that sometimes not having children is not just sadness, but can also lead to the most unpredictable and devastating consequences? Hello everyone. In this video, we will explore a haunting story that happened in the suburbs of Ghaziabad, India, where dark secrets are buried under the surface of a seemingly ordinary life. A young woman suddenly disappeared without a trace, and 2 days later, her body was found in a large suitcase hidden under the gloomy bushes. This murder case did not stop at the loss of a life, but also brought to light horrifying secrets that shocked the whole family and the community. Who is the real culprit? What has driven a family into a never-ending nightmare? Join us as we explore this haunting case, where horrifying truths are revealed one by one. The victim of the case was Ananya, an Indian woman of about 25 years old. Ananya was born and raised in a small village near the outskirts of Jaipur, India, in a poor working-class family. She was the youngest of 3 children. Anya's parents, Rakesh and Sunita, both worked in a local handicraft factory, weaving carpets and garments. Although her family lived a simple life, it was filled with love and solidarity among its members. Ananya was always the hope of her family, with the dream of one day being able to escape poverty and bring a better life to her parents. From a young age, Ananya proved to be an intelligent, studious, and hard-working girl. She always spent time helping her parents with manual labor after school and tried her best to study well to live up to her family's expectations. However, her studies did not last long because her family could not afford to send her to higher education. After graduating from high school, Ananya was forced to put her dream of going to university on hold to help support her family. At the age of 18, Ananya started working at a garment factory near her home to earn money to help her parents. During her time at the factory, Ananya faced many hardships, from harsh working conditions to family financial pressures. But she never gave up hope for a brighter future. Despite her difficult life, Ananya always kept an optimistic spirit. She often confided in her mother that she wanted to find a good husband, to build a happy family together, and especially to avoid the family conflict she had witnessed as a child. Ananya's parents always encouraged and hoped that their daughter could escape from a life of hard work. Transcripts provided by Transcription Outsourcing, LLC. Anil, 27, was born and raised in Ghaziabad, an industrial city near Delhi, India. Anil is the only son of Amit, a simple working man, and Meera, a gentle, hard-working woman. Anil grew up in a working-class family where everyone had to work hard to make a living. Anil's childhood was not very peaceful, but he always felt the love and sacrifice of his parents. Anil was not a brilliant student but worked hard, and immediately after graduating from high school, he decided not to continue his studies and went to work to help his family. Anil started working as a worker in a local textile factory, where he became a skilled worker through his constant efforts. Anil was a gentle, quiet, and responsible man who always tried to fulfill his duties. Ananya, with her pretty appearance and sociable personality, quickly attracted the attention of many people. But she was attracted to Anil's simplicity and sincerity. At first, they were just normal colleagues, but after many conversations and helping each other at work, their feelings gradually became closer. Anil often took advantage of his lunch break to sit and chat with Ananya. He listened to her talk about her family, her hardships, and her small dreams of a peaceful life. Ananya also found in Anil a soulmate, always ready to listen and share. They both shared family worries, financial pressures, and a desire to escape the hard work life. One day, Anil boldly asked Ananya out for a walk after work. That evening, under the dim streetlights of the city, they shared their happy and sad stories in life, from childhood memories to current worries. That simple but emotional first date was the beginning of a beautiful and sincere love story between 2 ordinary working people. Anil and Ananya's love grew through simple yet meaningful dates. They often went out for simple dinners at roadside stalls, shared homemade lunchboxes at work, or simply walked home together after a long, tiring day. After more than a year of dating, Anil decided to propose to Ananya. That evening, he prepared a small dinner at home with candles and flowers, everything he could afford. Anil hesitantly took out the small ring that he had been saving for months to buy. Ananya burst into tears when Anil proposed, not because of the extravagance or surprise, but because of his sincere feelings and his tireless efforts for her. The two decided to get married shortly after, with a simple but cozy wedding in their hometown, attended only by their family and a few close friends. Their wedding, although not grand, was filled with laughter and blessings from those around them. Anil and Ananya officially became husband and wife, building a small home together with the hope of a better future. Soon after Anil and Ananya got married, the seemingly peaceful and happy life of the young couple was suddenly interrupted by a major incident. Ananya's mother-in-law, Meera, suddenly passed away due to heart attack. Meera's passing not only left a huge void in Anil's heart, but also placed a heavy mental burden on Ananya, who had just become a member of the family. Mrs. Meera was a gentle, thoughtful woman, and was always the spiritual pillar of the whole family. She took care of Anil from childhood to adulthood, was the one who kept the fire burning in the house, and always advised Anil on how to treat his wife well after he got married. Ananya respected her mother-in-law very much, and always considered her as her second mother. She often confided in and received valuable advice from Miss Meera, especially when she first came to her husband's house. Says Meera's sudden departure was a great shock to the whole family. As for Ananya, she was not only grieving the loss of a kind mother-in-law, but also feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She tried to comfort her husband, care for her father-in-law, and keep things running smoothly at home. Ananya knew that her family needed her more than ever, and she worked hard to be Anil's emotional support. Every day, Ananya woke up early to prepare breakfast, clean the house, and encourage her husband to move on, even though her heart was heavy. After Meera's death, the family was left with only 3 members amid Anil and Ananya. Her passing left a huge void, leaving the family in a state of silence and distance. Despite being married for 2 years, Anil and Ananya still had no children. Both of them tried everything from visiting doctors to using folk remedies. But they did not get the expected results. Pressure from their families and reminders from people around them only made the situation more tense. Ananya's inability to have children made the atmosphere in the house even heavier. Though Mr. Amit, though not saying it directly, showed a cold attitude towards Ananya, making the relationship between the two increasingly distant. He often avoided direct contact and tended to silently blame his daughter-in-law for not having children yet. The absence of a child is not only a personal sorrow for Anil and Ananya, but also creates an invisible distance between the family members. Although life goes on, conflicts and simmering suspicions gradually accumulate. During this time, due to health issues, Ananya decided to quit her job at the textile factory. She stayed home to take care of her family and focused on finding another job that was more suitable for her current health condition. During this time, Ananya spent time taking care of Mr. Amit while continuing to hope to improve her health so that she could soon have children as both husband and wife wished. It was during the time when Ananya took a medical leave of absence and stayed home to look for a new job that tensions within the family increased. Amit, frustrated that 2 years had passed without Ananya and Anil having children, frequently criticized the couple for not having one. The relationship between Amit and Ananya became increasingly strained, especially when he expressed dissatisfaction and disdain whenever the topic of children was discussed. One morning after Anil had gone to work, Amit called Ananya aside for a private conversation. In the quiet of their home, he brought up the fact that they had no grandchildren, calling it a failure on both sides. Amit blamed Anil, saying that his son was not capable of getting Ananya pregnant. Then, surprisingly, he said that if Anil could not do it, he would do it for him. Ananya was shocked by the disgusting words, but before she could react, Mr. Amit had violently dragged her into the bedroom. Ananya tried to resist, but Mr. Amit used his strength to overpower her. He had forced her into a brutal act in the very house she had considered a safe place. Ananya was completely helpless before her father-in-law's brutal humiliation and could not escape his control. The incident happened quietly, but with the compulsion that turned the house into a haunting place for Ananya. After the first assault, Ananya continued to be abused by Mr. Amit many times after that. He took advantage of the time when Anil was at work to control and abuse her. Whenever Ananya tried to resist or avoid him, Mr. Amit became more violent. He not only forced her but also beat and threatened her, leaving Ananya. The abuse became more severe after that, Ananya was gradually drawn into a spiral of absolute control from her father-in-law. Whenever Mr. Amit approached her, she could do nothing but endure, because any resistance led to physical and mental violence from him. On March 9, 2022, Ananya suddenly disappeared under mysterious circumstances. That morning, Anil went to work as usual, while Ananya stayed at home as usual, showing no signs of anything unusual. However, when Anil returned in the afternoon, he could not find his wife and could not contact her. Initially, Anil thought that Ananya might have gone out to meet friends or find a new job, but when Ananya still did not return by evening, he began to worry. Anil alerted his relatives and called places where Ananya might be, but no one had seen her. Ananya's sudden disappearance left Anil and his family bewildered, not knowing what had happened. The next day, Anil reported his wife missing to the police, and an urgent search was launched. On March 11, 2022, a shocking discovery rocked the outskirts of Ghaziabad. Ananya's body was found inside a large suitcase, hidden under old silver sheets in the bushes near a textile factory. The body showed signs of light decomposition, indicating that she had died about 2 days earlier. Police quickly arrived at the scene, cordoned off the area, and launched an urgent investigation. After Ananya's body was found in the suitcase, police began investigating and initially theorized that it could have been a robbery or rape that led to murder. The marks on the body, along with the location of the discovery in a bushy area, led them to suspect that the victim may have been attacked by an unknown assailant. However, the autopsy revealed a crucial detail: a small amount of semen was found in Ananya's uterus, indicating that she had been sexually abused before her death. This was a major breakthrough in the case, helping to narrow down the search for the killer. DNA analysis of the semen was the next step in identifying the killer. The forensic examination continued to shock when it was discovered that the 2-month-old fetus in Ananya's womb did not match the DNA of her husband Anil. This result left Anil even more confused and distressed as to what had happened to his wife. The police turned their investigation to the possibility that Anil had discovered his wife's infidelity and killed Apai in a fit of rage. Anil quickly became the prime suspect. The police interrogated him and checked his alibi for the time of the crime. However, through a thorough investigation and confirmation from colleagues and security cameras, Anil proved that he had no direct involvement in Ananya's death. With a clear alibi, Anil was released, but the truth about the complicated relationships surrounding his wife's death sent him into crisis, and the case became more difficult for the police. During the subsequent investigation, the police realized that many details of the case. One of the suspicious points was that the incident happened in a familiar environment near the victim's home, and there were no signs of forced entry or robbery. This led the police to start considering the possibility that the perpetrator was someone close to Ananya. The police frequently visited Anil and Ananya's home to continue the investigation. They noticed that Ananya's father-in-law, Amit, was behaving strangely whenever the case was brought up. His evasiveness, cold demeanor, and inconsistent answers aroused the police's suspicions. Based on these details, the police decided to summon Amit for questioning and conduct a psychological test. Through the investigation and struggle, the police decided to conduct a DNA test from the semen remaining in Ananya's uterus. The analysis results showed a horrifying truth: the DNA from the semen and the DNA of the fetus matched Amit. This was undeniable evidence, indicating that Mr. Amit was the person who sexually abused Ananya and was the father of the fetus she was carrying. Faced with clear evidence, and under pressure from the police, Mr. Amit was forced to confess and recount the entire incident. He admitted to repeatedly abusing and raping his daughter-in-law when Anil was not at home. And Mr. Amit stated that on the day of the incident, after Anil left for work, he and Ananya had a heated argument. Ananya threatened to tell her husband everything he had done to her during the past time. Threatened and fearing that his dark secret would be exposed, Mr. Amit flew into a rage. In a fit of rage, he continued to brutally abuse Ananya, despite her resistance and screams. After committing the depraved act, Mr. Amit did not stop but strangled Ananya to death in order to silence her forever. To conceal his crime, he calmly dragged Ananya's body into the bedroom, stuffed her in a large suitcase, and hid it in a bushy area near the textile factory, where he knew few people would pass by. After disposing of the victim's body, he returned home and cleaned up the scene thoroughly. erasing any traces that could expose his crime. That when Anil returned home in the evening, Mr. Amit appeared calm and lied that Ananya had been out since morning and did not know where she had gone. He continued to maintain his calm demeanor and pretended that nothing had happened, leaving Anil unsuspecting of his father's horrific actions. All traces of the crime were carefully covered up until the police investigated and exposed the truth. After collecting sufficient evidence and a confession from Mr. Amit, the police officially arrested him on charges of sexual abuse, murder, and disposing of a body. The case shocked the public because of its brutality and the heartbreaking truth about what happened in the Anil and Anayami Ananyo family. The missing murder of a father-in-law by his daughter-in-law has caused outrage in the community and calls for a harsh sentence for the perpetrator. Amit's trial took place in late 2022 in a Ghaziabad court. The horrific details of Ananya's abuse, violence, and murder were made public. Amit pleaded guilty to all charges after the evidence was presented. His defense lawyer tried to reduce his sentence by citing poor health and mental instability. But this was not accepted. The prosecutor stressed the brutal and inhuman nature of the case, saying that Amit had not only violated family ethics, but had also committed a very serious crime and should be punished accordingly. Testimonies from Anil and other witnesses further clarified the suffering that Ananya had endured before her murder. Finally, the court sentenced Mr. Amit to death, ending a tragic case, but leaving behind endless pain for those involved, especially Anil, who had just lost his wife and had to face the bitter truth about his father's crimes. The sentence was not only a punishment for Mr. Amit, but also a warning about the tragedies that can happen even in a seemingly peaceful family. The case has been closed with a harsh sentence for Mr. Amit, but questions about the underlying cause of this tragedy still remain. Leaving much for the community to ponder. Was Anil really the one who was unable to help his wife get pregnant, leading to Mr. Amit taking advantage of the situation to commit cruel acts? Or did the long days of loneliness after losing his wife cause Mr. Amit to lose control of himself, leading to abusing his daughter-in-law? There may be other underlying causes, from the breakdown of family relationships, the pressure of not having children, to Mr. Amit's distorted thinking. This is not just a story about a murder, but also a lesson about disconnection and lack of understanding in the family, leading to unpredictable consequences. What do you think about this case? What do you think is the real reason that pushed this family into tragedy? Please share your opinion in the comments section below so we can discuss and better understand the hidden corners behind this heartbreaking incident.